Yeah, good morning, and thank you for having me here. When I read the title again yesterday and looking at what is going to follow, I'm not sure that it's so much about what is next, but how we did it so far and how we are going to do it in the future. Yes, we are a world-class finance service organization according to Hackett benchmarks. I'm in shared services now for 8 years. I'm located in Berlin, our largest shared service center actually. And we have formed a global organization just early 2016. And I'm also going to talk about this a little bit. Now, your kids will not be on BASF, I'm for sure. But all of you are constantly in touch with products that have BASF inside. It's invisible, but when you see the markets that we are in, it's basically solving most of the issues that the Earth is facing now and moving forward. We're addressing these topics in 5 big segments. We're still drilling oil and gas, and going down to some products that you can buy in do-it-yourself stores for construction. So it's a very broad range of things that we are producing. I think we now have some 60 billion in sales. For shared services and Hackett benchmarks, we had to take a big blow. We swapped some gas trading business for more than 10 billion in sales to some oil field rights. So we are now benchmarked against lower sales, and we are looking forward how we get out of it. We're just doing the latest study. We have improved a lot, but I'm sure all of you are also working very hard to keep up with the benchmarks. Now, what does our shared service organization currently look like? We have our first shared service center in Kuala Lumpur. It was formed in 2005. We were not an early mover, we are a fast follower. And I think 3 months later, also still in 2005, we built our shared service center in Berlin. And just recently in Montevideo, 2015, we opened our shared service center for the Americas. You see also we have a very different collection of functions and activities. We started right away with finance and HR, and we went aggressively about it. But we are just adding now, for example, procurement activities into our shared services. They are ramping up now. We have some environmental health and safety traditionally in Kuala Lumpur, but we are building it slowly now in Berlin as well. So it was actually a tougher competition within BASF amongst these centers than we ever faced outside from any benchmarks. Now, we still decided that we want to put it in one global organization, moving together and see how we do when we are in one. When I look at metrics, I basically only care about these 2. And they are also crucial for all our partners within BASF. The one is on your left side is the assigned transferred ratio. We had a lot of debates. What activities do we take over in shared services, and how many FTEs were employed before in our local companies? And it's still a mystery and negotiation. But anyway, we took it as a basis, and we compare against this, how many people do we employ in our shared service center to do the same. In the early years, all the complaints that it's bad and expensive, they were right. I think we used more than 20% more FTEs just to do the same, because it was everything a mess, badly documented, mistakes. But in 2009, we started a very strong initiative to focus on this metric, and we're now down to 0.7. So we saved 30% on the FTEs that we ever transferred into shared services. Certainly, we also started, like everybody else, into locations that offer lower labor cost. And yeah, we have some 45% saving on average. What I care more about is that we don't follow quickly on our more traditional sites. We have a lot of extras, giveaways. We are certainly also very much driven by work councils. So in the shared service center, we watch closely that we do not move too far away from our starting point and that we stay competitive. So if I look at metrics, this is basically what I look at. And all other activities that my people go after, they have to show up in assigned transferred ratio. Otherwise, I would not care so much. But this is not the true value. The true value that we created for BASF, this is much harder to show. It is much harder to prove. And we were lucky sometimes that just after we built these shared service centers, we had lots and lots of major acquisitions in BASF Group. And one very famous in Europe, we acquired Ciba, and we announced it just the morning that Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. This was also a big shock to us, and we got asked many times, do you now change your strategy? No, we just did it faster. We completely integrated the group into shared services in 9 months. We sent people out of Berlin to Basel that corrected the mess that did some consultants in SAP with people that we hired and trained out of Berlin. And those were very important moments. We got lucky that the head of that project moved on to our board. So we managed to also create in our top management the idea that shared services is more than just having cheap labor somewhere doing things quickly. It's certainly also reliable. But at the same time, one of our biggest promoters is our internal audit. When I used to work in local finance, and I had this one call from the reception desk, good morning, here's internal audit, we're coming up now. This was one of my worst moments in BASF ever. But I learned in shared services, they are wonderful. They don't go anywhere else anymore. They first come to us, they talk to our very young, open population, they learn, and then they decide where they move. So this was also an important moment to increase the idea that shared services is more than just cutting cost. And one indicator that I always look at is how many people from our organization get hired within our group. We don't have the highest reputation. We are lucky with Berlin. Certainly, we have a location where people love to live. But we managed that some of our people get hired by BASF Group. We had a cash management employee where even our US organization changed their green card regulation just to get her on board in New York. And I think it's, for me, these indications where I say we do have the right people. We are still trying to put into KPIs, and typically we fail, so we more build on stories than on KPIs on these topics. When we built our global shared service organizations, we had tons of consultants. I think the board had 3 rows of consultants coming in, and they were all talking about GBS. And our functions are organized globally. They had typically a corporate unit. They had centers of expertise that were also pretty corporate. Some had shared services, and you have the local organizations. We had pieces of this already in our shared service center, so you could call them multi-tower. We never said it. We called them shared service center, and there were more or less functions involved. Now, when we discussed now with our people from the headquarters and their consultants, and they were arguing the GBS model, I always wondered, where do you want to go? If we start to throw all the knowledge that we built, all the capacity that we had in shared services, and put it into one organization and say, you now just go and do it better and faster, and the other functions, the corporate and the center of expertise, they tell you what you have to do. You separate these people, and what I would have done, what I would have argued in our global finance management, I would have said, let's take out the best people that we have in shared services, hide them somewhere in center of expertise, and then we drive them nuts. And then in the end, you have to have a low-cost labor model in your GBS, because all the brain is located somewhere else. And I don't believe that GBS is running good end-to-end processes, because end-to-end processes, they don't run in GBS. It goes through all of the company. It also involves outside parties. So if we don't team up with our procurement strategy, we will never ever succeed in shared services to be successful in cash management, in just the processing of the invoices, and certainly also not in the net cash flow operation. So we really try out of the shared services to engage our corporate unit that are much more separated than the people are in the shared services to make it an end-to-end work. We have the advantage that we have one global ERP system in running on SAP that certainly drives a lot of cooperation needs, that helps to some extent, but you really, and there I fully agree with Cindy, you have to bring people together, talk to each other, understand the problem and solve. But I completely believe that you have to put your expertise into the shared services, and you have to collaborate with your local partners in the companies, but also with your corporate units, and you have to make it one. And with all the drive for digitalization and technology, that gets even more and more important. So I believe when you build an organization that is just for services and has to improve the piece that they are responsible for, you make progress, but in the end, you lose a lot for your total company. So we are embarking here on a fully integrated model. We bring more and more know-how in the shared services, or for some you can also say more and more people believe that there is know-how. So we drive projects out of shared services. The whole rollout of our global ERP system was driven out of shared services, especially in finance. So I think this is the way to go, and we see every day that your expertise comes from the doing. You cannot sit in a corporate center and build expertise. It is close to impossible at the speed that we are improving processes. So very often I then get the question, so now how do you steer then? If you don't have a GBS model and you have all these functions, they all want a piece of the cake and they all want to be responsible. Yeah, you need a lot of sensible people around the table. So we built the model largely out of the experience in shared services, where we started already to bring around the table in each of those locations and independently of each other, the highest representative, I have to say, of each present function. Sometimes they only have 10 employees, and sometimes they have 300. They have completely different levels in our global hierarchy. We don't care in shared services. We brought everybody to one table to just manage the site. That was already established. And we did the same actually in 2016 when we established a global shared service organization. We just took the same model, the highest representative of each function. We are around the table and we manage the whole thing. We talk to each other, we're at different speeds, we have different focus, but the show we run together, how we move employees, all this we do together. And we managed to create, we call it Global SSC Leaderboard, where our functional division heads They nominated people that report to them and they want to take care of shared services. Most of them have no clue about shared services. They just want to learn. They nominated me as head of that board, and we are taking baby steps now forward. What actually are we doing there? The one thing that we agreed upon, location selection, from now on we do together. We have these three. They developed by individual decisions, but they are now confirmed as our three main locations, Montevideo, Berlin, and Kuala Lumpur. And from now on, we take these decisions together, because if finance would step out of one of these locations, we probably ruin the overhead cost for everybody else. So we move together. And right now, this model, it's not super strong, it's not super reliable, and a couple of idiots can mess it up. But right now, it works perfectly fine. And I come to you next how we try to strengthen it from the bottom. Now, important in the shared service centers is actually that we have one common belief. The slide is not very pretty, it's not really sexy, but we really, in our shared service management, completely believe in this one slide, and this keeps us together. On the right side, you see what we would call how to stay competitive. It looks a bit like Hackett, and yes, efficiency is important. We look at it. Effectiveness, we look at to keep our internal partners happy, understand their requirements, deliver what they need. Compliance is for us more what you expect from a supervisory board, from the board of directors, the requirements that we have to fulfill to keep our license to operate. This is where we want to be top-notch. And we thought about it a lot. Why do we operate a shared service center in Berlin? It's definitely not the cheapest location. Everybody is aware of it. It's much cheaper than our headquarters, but what does it tell? We take the challenge. We look at how many people do we employ, what is the average salary, and this is the major driver for our efficiency. It accounts for more than probably 85% of our cost that we are responsible for is going into this. But when you talk about effectiveness and compliance, you need people who are competent. I fully agree with Cindy. You need people who can communicate. You lose in shared services if people just hear about you. You have to have people who stand up and can present themselves in times of trouble, when you want to change something. This is a crucial competence that you need. And you also need people who understand what they are talking about. And in a scientific company like BASF, this is extreme. People just are so bad when they have the slightest doubt on your knowledge, then you're not able to discuss with anybody anymore. So it's pretty crucial for us to really demonstrate competence in what we are doing. And we found that with this competence that allows us to understand our local partners, that helps us to ensure compliance, it also helps us to drive. In the past we said automation, now it's fancier to say digitalization. I don't want to debate the one or the other, but these people, they drive our systems as well, and this allows us to drive this assigned transfer ratio down and down and down. So this is our strategy already for the last years, and this is what keeps us together and makes us extremely successful. Now, digitalization gave us a blow in 2016. We spent 18 months to look into S/4HANA and its capabilities, and it's highly interesting technology, very fast reading, but same writing speed. So we see for BASF Group fantastic possibilities. Yes, if you think of a virtual boardroom, at the press of a button, you get an oil price scenario throughout BASF. We can do it all. It's not a problem. We have the knowledge, we have the capacity, but it will be a very costly SAP project. and we have close to 0 savings in FTE in shared services. So for us, it's now an interesting test. Do we want to invest into this? It's quite a long journey to really bring our complete cost accounting together. And if we did our job in finance, then still all our manufacturing plants have to revise their recipes, they have to be reliable, they have to be completely integrated into the system, and then one day you can press this button and say, if the oil price changes, what happens around the world? It's possible, the technology is there, but it's a very costly project, and we are not going to finance it based on our cost anymore. So this is something we are looking into. We take the opportunity, we have a chart of account that is 150 years old. It's really bad, and we also do very bad booking around the globe, and people can even justify with the descriptions of the counts that we put out there. So this is a large initiative, but for me it's fascinating how much understanding in the meantime we have in the management that this is not about clean up this stupid chart of account, what is it all for? No, there's a lot of conviction that we need deep quality into this. And if we cannot manage to bring deep quality with engineering, procurement, all the sides, then we would rather stop the project than to play a bit and say we did a great chart of account. So this is also a change that has occurred through more insights that we gained through shared services. And what we also find is that with our operational businesses, they also constantly hit the same barrier that our master data is a limiting factor. The way we put products and customers and suppliers onto the system, even though we have a global ERP system, still it does not live up to our dreams. And this is something that we now reach out to in a very collaborative manner. Still maybe not to the extent that I would love to see, but the atmosphere about these topics has changed dramatically. So this is a journey that we will continue into SAP. But what we also found out in those 18 months was it's not only costly, it's also very slow. And we don't see the benefits in shared services so much. So we started 3 more initiatives. One is we have to integrate. We put now 3 independent, successful, together with our headquarters, even 4 successful shared service sites we put in one organization. And they know my name. They probably saw my picture. This is already doubtful because every employee uses one intranet site. And if you don't manage to get your picture on the one that they use, they probably don't even see your face. So from all this, we learned it's very hard to go out there. To save travel costs, my bosses say, you travel, but leave them where they are. Actually, we're just debating there. I say, this is not going to work. We have to bring all managers from these locations together in one global meeting and explain a lot of the background, what I'm telling you here today, in order to be able to move really as one organization forward. So these are ongoing discussions. We do use video conferencing. We were 8 white German males distributed around the globe. It sounds easy to be one management team. It was a complete nightmare. The first global conference we had 3 on the telephone, 5 sitting in the room, and we lost 1. We didn't even realize because we were so intensively discussing. So next time we said, okay, let's put cameras. So we had a camera at a long table. It was lousy. So I think it took us 3 or maximum 4 times since then. When we have a global management team, we sit everybody in front of our own computer. It's a bit weird, but we sit in front of our own computer with a video, so everybody can see. You can see who is talking. It took us another 6 months to manage to discuss when we do this. So in the beginning, somebody said something, nobody had a question. It's a bit like a conference here. And it was a nightmare. So we had a change manager, and we worked hard on our discussion culture, and we banned all presentations. When you have a management team, everybody wants to present to the management team and get a decision. We said, stop it. We don't do it anymore. We have 11-hour time zone span from Montevideo to Kuala Lumpur. So Monday and Friday are already difficult. So you have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and from 12 to 2 o'clock Berlin time, where you can make a conference call. No presentation, only the management team. Whoever wants to bring something, bring it to your local management, discuss it, prepare it, send it around, and we will discuss and come back to you. This is a huge change for the local organizations. And we start slowly that more and more teams have the same experience. But what we're looking here when we say integrate, we look for a knowledge management platform. And we found that there are some that have machine learning capacity, that feel a bit like Google. And the ones that tested it, they love it immediately. So we believe that this will be also the platform where we communicate in the future. We will eliminate our intranet because it's slow, it's unsexy on mobile use, it doesn't work properly. So we believe we're looking for the one tool that solves knowledge management, that solves internal communication, and probably will also then bring some workflow activities. The other thing is certainly robotics, and I have to admit, we do not apply one single technology that you see here outside of this room, not one single. There are one or two that we tried for the last 3 years in our IT department, always came back with a standard SAP solution, and we decided we give up, do whatever you like, we improve without your tools, we do it on our own, and so far we were quite successful. But now we have to reach out, we have to better understand these technologies, what they can bring, even though we always look to our one global ERP system. So this is the journey that we started actually in January this year. And by mid-year, we will have 10 robots live. And honestly, I don't care. I don't care about the business case. And I don't know whether it's RPA, more intelligent robots, whether it's machine learning or artificial intelligence. Again, I look at the one metric and I say, if we successfully apply this technology, we do the same with less people. This is the way that the digitalization will take us. And we changed the way how we go about it. I come to this in a second. One aspect that we change is the way how we want to network. We had a Care to Connect initiative in Europe. We made roadshows to local companies that complained, we don't know whom to call and whom to talk to, and when we call, your people say, I'm not responsible, call the other one. So we made a very formal structure. If you have locally a problem, go there to this management level. If then you have a clear contact in our shared service center, and they will take care of you. I think we did rollouts for 3 years. I cannot even tell you whether it works well. It has calmed down a lot. I think people talk to each other. But I received a report last year on this Care to Connect initiative. And the summary I started to read. And there were statements like, yeah, currently we don't hear any complaints in our organization. And I immediately called the team and I asked them, can you give me more insight what you are doing there and how you come to these conclusions? Yeah, and they explained to me, they ask and they make telephone interviews, and this is what the people say. And I said, yeah, but did you think about it? They have no clue what they are talking about. We have local organizations now they don't understand anymore what happens in the shared service center. So when they give feedback, they really seriously tell us, yeah, we don't hear any complaints. So at the same time, in Kuala Lumpur, they started in 2005 with a ticket system. I went there immediately when they made me responsible last year, and I killed it. There were all employees in the room and the management, and I asked the employees, why do you allow your management to hide you behind a ticket system? Why don't you talk to the companies? There was standing ovation in Kuala Lumpur. And everybody in Asia talks to them like they're the complete idiots. I don't think that these people are the idiots, but a management team that introduces a ticket system to hide their employees, they, I think, have a serious problem. Now, we also cut a lot of central resources. They had the highest strata grades for people who were on the phone with local companies. They had strata 7.1, and the one managing 100 people running the service, they were 5.2, 6.1. I mean, this is unbelievable, and it's my biggest headache, our shared service center in Kuala Lumpur. They really have a dramatically bad reputation, and it's not because of the people that I meet there. So we're turning this around, and right now, while I, in Europe, say this whole Care to Connect doesn't work, they're currently introducing it because they learned about it last year, and they get celebrated in Asia that they reach out in conference calls to their local partners, and they talk to the teams, and they hear the problems, and they don't have to type it into the system anymore. So this is what we are doing, and we are allowing, even though I'm pushing now my global process heads to really go through their services and understand who are the people that we are impacting in BASF organization with our services. And we have very interesting learnings. We had a meeting, another meeting last year. I don't know why it all happened in 2016. We had a head of a regional business unit coming to Berlin with his team, and I brought in very strong young managers. I was super, I believed in. And we found out two things. The RBU head wanted to transfer services to us that we already did for 5 years for them. And they had no clue that these things were running in the shared service center. They were convinced that their own people do it. Oh, wow, okay, I hurry up. Now, the other thing was my people had no clue what the business unit in BASF is. So now we go out and we have to understand who are the people that we do service with and for. The other big thing is this change ahead of us, we will not manage anymore like we did it so far. Robotics, I got a call from our board. There was a presentation. We referred to you. Please look at it. The first contact that in BASF we had in our shared service organization with robotics was a global call. All employees of the shared service were invited. Every interested party outside, that was the first contact. Suddenly, now that everybody told about, we have to go out and constantly explain what's going on, what is the next step. So we have a complete different communication need. In the past, and we didn't realize it in the past, we always communicated successful projects that were closed. Now, I force everybody to only talk about things that we don't fully understand that we're currently doing, and we're gauging everybody. The management level is extremely nervous. They don't understand why so fast, where is it coming from, and this is why I want to invite them globally to a conference, because they have to understand, but they have to let their people go. Overnight, after this one introduction of robotics, there were young officers who made a script by themselves on their computer that brought one process piece from 7 minutes down to 23 seconds. We never asked them. So what we will do is we will set free the organization, And I think the strategic direction is clearly driven by digitalization, but this is not what is core to get there. I believe we have to network in a complete different way, and we have to lead our people in a complete different way. And I don't want a robotics team. I killed the black belt team in Kuala Lumpur. We have managers who are responsible for these services. I don't want anybody else telling them what they should do. If we have managers who are not keen to get there, we have to replace them. But we will not have any specialized teams. I want the managers to be responsible. I'm not nervous in front of the Works Council. I want a manager who understands what his team is doing, what he's going to change, and then he can explain to the Works Council what he's going to do with robotics. So this we're introducing at the same time. It's a bit of a shaky situation, but I really believe that this is the way forward. We cannot manage shared services like we did the last 10 years if we want to reap these benefits. And this curve here, this is 30 to 60% additional benefit in assigned transfer ratio. So we would be down to 0.3 in the best case. And I believe this is where we go. And if you want to meet us in Hackett benchmarks, be prepared, this is where we will be. So, but the real takeaway of all of this, and actually these people, they are a team in Berlin. They volunteered for an action. It's all about the people. Whatever technology you apply, it's really all about your people and the competence that they bring to the table. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. We're going to ask you to stay on for a few more questions.
Yeah, sure.
But as the questions come on live for us on the screen, I had one question for you.
Yes.
If you had to do this all over again, what would you do differently, Daniel?
Yeah, if I could choose, I would have started to get the insight that I have now earlier. And I never know when we discuss this internally, one of the reasons that we get a bit nervous is I do this now for 8 years. So a typical term in BASF is 3 years. So I got promoted to do European services, now I do global services, but there is an end. And the last 5 years when we drive the assigned transfer ratio, it was a lot me pushing my managers. So if I consider that somebody else comes in who's completely new, I have some doubts that the road will work. So I think I would have loved to set free the organization earlier. This I would definitely recommend to change. But you also need a certain touch and feel with your organization to do it. So whenever I talk to other people doing shared services, everything is an own journey. But the fundamentals I do believe in, and I believe everybody should apply it.
Okay, great. So we have a few questions that's popped up here. So if you cut off your workflow solution, then how would you receive, track, control requests from the business?
Actually, we have very few workflow solutions. We built one in Berlin with some students very cheaply, and our IT department didn't allow us to transfer the transactions into SAP, and they came back with standard SAP solutions. We rejected it. So the only workflow solution that we really apply is in accounts payable. When we talk to business, honestly, we still have to find the right way because business is a very large community. As I highlighted, we don't know who they are, they don't know who we are, and it's a difference to talk to a customer services officer, to somebody in sales, and we have to understand also who are the ones that knows the real BASF customer, outside customer headaches. So this communication channel we have to build, but the only solution that I see is that all of our employees have to be part of it. So if we make management communication channels, we lose. This is what I strongly believe.
And I think that connects quite nicely to the next question on what are some of the platforms you use for communication, and that connects to the next, dispelling the challenge or perception that people in shared services make all the errors. So one is, how do you manage the communication between your 3 locations? And the second part is, how do you then manage stakeholder or partner perception that the issues are all due to these people in shared services? How do you dispel that?
We don't have any tool. We had in Asia this ticket system that they used as a kind of justification. We don't find it in the system, therefore you don't have a complaint. In Europe, we stopped it while it was developed when I arrived. And actually, I'm in many management teams, and I take a lot from what I hear, and if they don't complain, everything is already quite good. But we don't have a real communication platform. We really reach out with all people. And
so it's leadership, and it's how you lead the people and how you
it's really people. We don't have any barrier in the communication. Yeah. So somebody who does a transaction in the shared service center, he's open up in all our internal communication directories. You really find the people, and we are not hiding anything. So the major platform is, I would say, telephone, and globally we now use more video conferencing.
Okay. Thank you for that, Daniel. We'll take a couple of more questions. Seems like the questions are popping in very quickly. Do you have your center of excellence in the same location as your shared service center? If so, are you not limiting the volume of work you can transfer from your countries? Respect for one ERP. Questions from Michael. Michael, you may want to just throw some light. Is Michael somewhere here in the audience? Michael? We'll run the mic up to you, Sally, if you can help. And just as the mic's reaching there, just my view on the COE. And I think we seem to use this word quite leniently or disrespectfully on the other people, because when you say this is a center of excellence, it means that everybody else that's working is a center of mediocrity. So somewhere as shared service center leaders, we kind of put this big cloud on our people, but never mind. Let's see what Daniel's doing in BASF. So Michael, what is your question, if you can explain that to us? That's very good running, Sally. Thank you.
Now it's on. Michael van der Steen, Axel Nobel. First of all, thank you for the inspiring story. And I have to say that I know BASF a little bit because I used to work with BASF as a customer. And I think you're challenging the status quo, which is, I think, quite unique for a company like BASF, as I know it. My question is, on your center of expertise and your shared service center, you seem to imply in your presentation that they are actually sitting in the same location. So I was just wondering if that puts any limitation, because you only have 3 locations, on the transfer of work from your countries into the centers. And as said, I'm very jealous of one ERP.
Thank you. Actually, we don't even have a center of expertise. You don't find this term anymore in BASF. We used to have it still in HR, but they are now eliminating it. Our center of expertise are the people in the shared service centers that we deploy to achieve something. So we have an expert organization, but not as a separate organization. So the head of our management accounting or the head of our financial reporting has also some experts in his organization, but they are part of the service delivery unit. And we have a project management team. They are 8 people. And I think globally we have 11 people in shared services that manage projects. When they do a project, they go into the service delivery unit, get out the people, and sometimes they are rotating on bigger projects. So we don't really have something like a center of expertise. It's like I say, the know-how comes from the doing. So we have good people in the local organization, But when you compare them now after more than 10 years with the shared service organization, they have all their know-how from the doing in one company. And we have people that have know-how from the doing in many companies. So it's a bit like I said with implementing robotics. I don't want COE for robotics. I couldn't care less. I want the managers that run the service to have the expertise that they need and to have the skill set that they need, and we drive them with our strategic ambitions to build more of what we need for the future.
Okay, Daniel, we'll merge two questions and take that as the last one, which is who owns your employees in your organization? Does GBS own them, or do the functions own them? And therefore, how do you control information and therefore manage the consequences of outcome or results? That's the first part of the question. And the second part is your Works Council supportive of robotics, particularly in Germany, and how that impacts your corporate taxation, perhaps?
Yeah. Only the employees, disciplinarily, they all globally report in the end to me. But functionally, they are the global functions reaching out to their management and thereby also in the end to the employees. It's now a bit sometimes a power game. We still have some limited acceptance in Asia that it's not their shared service center anymore. But when it comes to performance agreements and performance evaluation, it's completely out of the shared service organization, ultimately reporting to me. But certainly you also have people that work in a region and that foresee their career maybe in the region. So there are power plays, and there is not a term like ownership in our understanding. We have disciplinary and functional leadership, and we have to harmonize it. There are some challenges, but it works quite well. The Works Council, actually we went about it aggressively because I had nothing to tell the Works Council about robotics because I participated in this one video conference myself and got the first information on robotics, and we also invited the Works Council to participate. And there was open statements, and we didn't hide anything. And I gave video updates around the globe in the weeks to follow. We again invited the Works Council. We then found out that they were not fully aware what we are doing there. So they complained afterwards a bit that they were not informed upfront. We talked to them, they understood, and we told them that we highlighted a bit better. But they saw the journey.
Okay.
We built Berlin for 450 employees. We now have 1,300. So they are nervous about it, but they also saw the story developing. If we do excellent services, yeah, we cut down on existing activities, but we also bring in new. So for them, I think the strategy also worked well, and they are not aggressive towards ours.
Okay. Thank you very much, Daniel. Ladies and gentlemen, big round of applause for him, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.